If you're looking to be a little bit healthier and maybe learn a little bit more about GMOs, well, you can tonight at the Bookworm of Edwards. Joining me now, McKay Jenkins, the author of Food Fight. You're going to be speaking tonight at the Bookworm about your book that you have written.
That's right. So GMOs is a point of national debate. People are really opinionated, have very strong feelings about it. There's some people who think that GMOs are the worst thing that's ever happened. There are other people that say that GMOs are absolutely required to feed a starving world, you'll hear. But what most people don't realize is that even if they think they're eating consciously, they're eating GMOs in almost every meal that they eat. And you say to somebody, well, where do you think the GMOs are showing up in your diet? We're talking about plants, after all. We're talking about plants that have been genetically modified to grow in a field that can then be sprayed with an herbicide, let's say, and the herbicide will kill every other plant except for the plant that you're trying to grow. So let's say you're trying to grow soybeans, for example. You can genetically modify a soybean, spray it with an herbicide, it'll kill everything else except for the soybean. You can then harvest the soybean and put it out into the American food market. So you may think, well, I don't eat a lot of soybeans. But the truth is that if you eat chicken, for example, all the chicken that you eat is being fed GMO soybeans. If you eat beef, all the cattle that you're eating have been fed GMO corn. If you drink soda, all the soda has been sweetened with GMO corn syrup. GMOs are in everything that we eat. They're absolutely everywhere, but they're also invisible at the same time, which is why you get these big debates about people wanting to label food so they can figure out what is it that we're eating. We don't have any information. We don't know if they're healthy or not healthy. We don't know if the chemicals sprayed on them are good for us or bad for us. There's an awful lot of mystery about this. The other problem is that these GMOs and the chemicals sprayed on these crops are all owned by a very small number of companies. So there are a lot of people that are quite worked up about the centralization of food in the hands of places like Monsanto or DuPont or Syngenta. These global conglomerates control a very large percentage of what we eat, and people get very uncomfortable about that. Now, the history about this is pretty interesting because we used to have millions and millions of small family farms that grew local food. If you were in New England or if you were in Colorado, if you were in Washington State, you were eating different things grown by different farmers. All of those farms have disappeared. We've lost something like 4 million farms in the last 50 or 60 years, and that has been replaced by suburbs. So we've got a lot of houses, but we have no farms. So all the farms migrated to the Midwest, and they only grow basically 3 things: soybeans, corn, and wheat. And so all of us are basically eating a radically smaller number of foodstuffs when we eat. So we don't have diversity in our diet. We're getting a lot of calories, but not a lot of nutrition. So the entire American food system, which is pretty unhealthy on the whole, is all built on top of these monoculture GMO crops. That's really what we're talking about. The problems for human health, also the problems for the environment that have come up, which are really quite broad. Mm-hmm. So for example, if you look at a package in the supermarket and it says non-GMO, it'll have a picture of a monarch butterfly on it. The reason for that is that the chemicals that they spray on all these crops kill all the weeds, including something known as milkweed, which is the only thing that monarch butterflies eat. So the monarch butterfly populations have almost disappeared. The butterfly is almost extinct, and that is a direct result of all of these GMO crops and these herbicides. So the repercussions for the way we eat has really gone across the board in terms of human health and in terms of the environment.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely something that has expanded over the country, and I know we were talking a little bit, you said pretty much the span from Pennsylvania to Colorado, there are these farms and GMOs, and that can be a huge problem, like you said, for the environment and health reasons as well. So you'll cover all this in your topic discussion tonight at the Bookworm, 6 p.m. and $10 for a ticket. It's going to include appetizers. You're going to be going over your book, Food Fight, so they can come learn a little bit more from you this evening.
That's right.
Great. Thanks so much, McKay. Appreciate you coming on the show today, telling us a little bit more about GMOs, and hopefully we'll learn how we can be a little bit healthier and how we can put a stop to companies like Monsanto's later tonight. Thank you. Coming up next, we're going to take it back to Mark. He's got a look at your weather forecast.